G'day, Aussie Bonsai Bloke here, how you going? Today I'm going to be working on me olive here. Got this olive, I reckon I collected it out the ground on the side of the road probably 3 or 4 years ago. And it's just been growing in pots since, so I reckon now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up all the growth in the bottom, choose some branching that I want to keep, probably wire the branching just to get it out the way, and then I'm going to carve it. I won't set the structure of the wiring yet, but I will do the wiring, but I'll set it after I finish carving. I'll just sort of use the wire to bend the branches out the way of the carver, make it a bit easier, although you do run the risk of then catching the wire with the carver, which can then really rip it up, but we'll try to avoid that. So yeah, basically I guess I've got to choose a front, back. I'm going to call this the back of the tree here. I'll just give you a close-up, a bit of a close-up. Call that the back of the tree because it's leaning a long way in the pot. And I think with this tree I can create interest on the front and the back of this tree. You could actually have it both ways, but the thing is, if you have a look from this angle, it's leaning out this way, which means your front of the tree should be around there if you think that the trunk's good enough from there. And it's pretty good from there. I may play around a little bit with, see there's 2 trunks, I may play a little bit around with having one front trunk, one back trunk, whether or not I have the big one at the back or at the front. Or I could go that way and have a smaller trunk at the back, bigger one at the front. Not sure. So once I've cleaned it up all out the way, then I'll get the carver out and do a bit of carving around the place to create some interest. And I'll also do some carving down the back to hopefully create a bit of interest. And there's a few dead sections, like there's a dead knob there that I've got to cut off and then do some carving around the place. So I haven't really had a good look at this tree. It's hard to see it now with all the foliage on. So the front, yeah, the front will be around there somewhere. It'll make more sense once I get all the stuff out of the way. I may have to cut this pot, the lip off of this pot, so that you can see it easier, but if I keep it at that angle, sort of looking down on it a bit more, you can sort of see the base there. So I'm not sure how long I've had it in this pot, because I did repot it. I don't think more than about 6 months, so I've got to be a little bit careful as far as moving the tree around. So yeah, I'll do most of it on high speed, hyperlapse, the wiring and the trimming. Then I'll have a bit of a chat about the carving and take a look at it once we've got all these branches out of the way. Cheers! G'day, well, I was going to wire first, and then I realised it's a bit of a silly thing for me to say, because if I wire first before I go ahead and carve it, and then I link 2 branches around the place somewhere, like even here, if I linked them 2 together, then I'll have the wire going around the back here, and then I can't carve down it. So I'll have wire wrapping around the trunk everywhere, and then I can't carve down it. So that was a bit of a silly thing for me to say, bit of an idiot, but Anyway, so I'm going to carve it now, get into carving it, and then I'll wire it later. As you can see, I've chopped a lot of stuff out, cut it back pretty short, and then when I wire it, I'll just put a little bit of a kink in every branch. The reason I cut it back so short is that way you get the division a lot earlier towards the trunk, and it won't take long to catch up and then fill in the canopy anyway. If I was to leave it too long, it would look better in the short term. You would get a nicer sort of looking tree in the short term, but then all you're going to end up with is a long stick and then the ramification on the outside. So cut it back nice and early, nice and short, then let it divide out and then trim it again. So doing it this time of year, we're in sort of mid-spring to late spring now, or pretty well late spring, and yeah, doing it this time of year, I'm going to get a good amount of growth by the end of summer, going into autumn. So I might even be able to cut it back 2 more times yet. So by the time Christmas comes, it's going to be well on its way to looking like a bonsai. And then give it a few more years, it'll really fill in, really look good. So mainly I'm going to do the carving now while there's not much growth on here, so it's easy to get to stuff. Yeah, that's about it. So my plan for the carving is to just carve a few hollows, a few holes in the trunk, make it interesting. All these cut off ends here will get hollowed out, and then some lines and holes down the trunk. This big one on the left here will get carved out. This one on the right, it's pretty much died right back, so I might leave the remains of the old stub there and sort of carve it out. This branch hasn't actually got a lot of growth on it. As you can see, it's only got 2 little shoots here, so I'm going to leave them to grow out. But yeah, I'm going to get into the carving. Haven't done any carving for a while, so it should be quite fun. Yeah, that's about it. Right, I'll get into the carving. Cheers. Oh, I haven't really picked the front yet either. Could be that way, or it could be around that way. And then the back of the tree, that'll be the back of the tree. But I'll still carve out the back of the tree, make it look interesting. It's good if you can have both sides of the trunk looking good rather than just focus on one. Should be good. Cheers. G'day. Well, some of the main carving's done now. Well, pretty much all of it. All the main carving. Pretty much hollowed it out a lot. I've taken a lot of live vein wood away, so we'll see how it goes. Might get some sections die off, I don't know. But I hope it doesn't. I've tried to be mindful of all the live veins running up and down the trunk, but there is a couple like this one here that have got pretty skinny. They've gone pretty skinny. But you always got to test the limits of what they can handle. Olives are pretty strong, so anyway, so I've done the main bit. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be putting this little groove part on, and this is on the Ozito little rotary tool, and I'll just be putting some nice marks in, you know, as if it's aged naturally, or the termites have got in there and created little channels in the wood. So I'm going to be going through doing that. Then I'm going to wire it up, staining, and then stain it. No worries. Cheers. I'll get on to it. Welcome back. So I've finished doing the carving. I've done the detailed carving with a little rotary tool, and now I'm just gonna do some painting of the deadwood. But I'm going to try something different this time. On the outside of the deadwood, I've got some charcoal or ash just out the fire. And what I'm going to try and do, I'm going to see if it works, is paint the outside of the deadwood with this, just to give it a whitish sort of charcoal look. I might have to change the mix a little bit, we'll see. So that'll go on the outside to make it a bit whiter on the outside. And then what I'll do is I'll put in the natural charcoal woodstone. That'll go deeper in the holes, so it'll create a bit more contrast in the deadwood. I'm hoping that makes it look a little bit better, because in the past, although it looks pretty good, it's you know, all one colour, not really a lot of contrast. So I'll do that. I'll paint the stain on the inside, the darker stuff, and then just put a bit of charcoal on the outside, just see how it goes. If that doesn't work, maybe I'll even mix a bit of lime sulphur and do that on the outside as well. We'll see what happens, because the ash might just wash off, simply just wash off. Not sure. Anyway, I'll get to doing that. Cheers. Okay, so I got the black bits painted and I did a little bit of experimenting. So what I've done, went and got some charcoal from the fire and also some white ash from the fire. So what I've found out, well, what I think works alright, is what you do, well, don't take my word for this because first time I've done it, but anyway, what I'm doing at the moment anyway, I suppose I should say, is if I do a close-up over here, I'll do a close-up of this wood at the top here. What I'm doing is where it's white like that, try and do it without getting my big fingers in the way. So I'm literally just painting on a bit of charcoal, just rubbing it in. Okay, just makes it quite black, and then I just grab my bowl of ash, dip in a dry brush, get it full of ash, and then just go ahead and paint over the area that I just put all the ash on, the charcoal on, sorry. And then by the time that rubs off, it sort of gives it a fairly good contrast, I think, between the dead wood there, the live wood, and then the really black sort of deep hollow wood, which is black because it's darker in there. So I'm going to do that through the whole tree, see how we go. G'day, welcome back. I've done me ash, put all my ash on the tree. As you can see, my hands are fairly black. I wouldn't say it's a complete fail, but it's not that great, so I might have to try and find some lime sulphur and do a bit of highlighting with the lime sulphur, but it looks alright. I'll give you a bit of a spin of the tree and then I'll do a bit of a close-up. It's been a bit of a fun carving on this olive. I white out all the branches, as you can see, and pretty much when I select branches, all I want to do is be able to fill in all the empty areas around the tree just to create a nice, you know, uniform sort of branching. And I want all the angles of the branches to be pretty similar. So I'll give you a spin of the tree. Somewhere there I think is going to be a front, I'm not sure. Anyway, give it a bit of a spin. Yeah, it's a bit of fun with the carving tool. Probably 5 hours all up, maybe 6. Fair few live veins and stuff now I've created, so let's hope none of the branching dies. We'll see how it goes. Being an olive, it should be okay, but I have pushed it to its limit. Wouldn't like to create any more hollows than this, so I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of branches do die off. I'll have to redesign a little bit, but we'll see. I think in general it'll be pretty good. I'll give you a bit of a close-up going out. No worries. Cheers for watching Aussie Bonsai Bloke. Please like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you later. Cheers.